Hello and welcome. My name's Rob Smith. I'm a leadership coach, management trainer, and ex-billing manager in recruitment, just like you. And in this video, we're going to talk about what I believe is the toughest job in agency, the billing manager. Now, for many of you, I'd imagine you've been promoted to manager because you're a high performer or top biller, and now you've found yourself in this role where you have to support the development of others while still hitting your own revenue targets. And it's a tough balance. I get it, I've been there, because on one hand, you're this expert recruiter, and then on the other hand, you're probably a novice manager. And I remember making that transition to manager myself in agency, and I had a lot of questions about how to do a great job. How do I run my one-to-ones? How do I manage underperforming consultants? How do I develop high performance? So a lot of questions, and I'm sure you've got many of those for yourself as well. So what I want to do in this video is really break down your role and discuss two things. Firstly, the importance of setting a great example through your own billings, and additionally, what you can do to support your team's success on the management piece. And then finally, I want to share some actions, things that you can do, things you can take away after this video that I think are going to make a real difference and have a real impact in your role. Okay. So firstly, I want to talk about why being a manager, why being a billing manager or a team leader is such an important role. And well, quite simply put, successful business is all about delivering results through other people. Okay, and I take my insight around management from a company called Gallup, which are a global analytics and advisory company. They conducted the largest ever study on the future of work, and they interviewed tens of millions of employees and managers across 160 countries. And what they found is that the quality of managers, and that's you, by the way, is the single biggest factor in a business's long-term success. Okay. So you need to recognize the impact that you have, and you need to take on that responsibility and really be intentional about learning to be a great manager. Okay. And then also with that, balancing that with your own personal billings. Okay. And it is a tough balance. So the way I want to explore this is to really break your role down into its different components. And I want you to consider that you've got two jobs. Okay. Firstly, you're a billing consultant. And then the second job is you're a team manager. And I want you to consider that you've got to think about and bring focus to each of those elements. So let's have a think about this billing piece first. So to be a good recruiter, and you'll know this, you need to know how to do all aspects of the recruitment process. And that's right from client generation and bringing jobs on to sourcing and finding and interviewing and qualifying candidates, like putting them into that recruitment process and managing that tightly. Yeah. And then taking that right the way through to offer and placement. So this is the stuff you're going to be good at, right? After all, you are the expert recruiter. And although this element of the job is all about you and it's all about your billings, I want you to think and recognize that it still has a massive impact on your team. And I don't just mean about the numbers. Okay. It's important because how you recruit sets the standard, sets the example to your team. And by leading by example and showing them how to run a good recruitment process to a high standard really will help your team to learn. Okay. So with that in mind, you have to commit time each week to your own personal billings. Like, be effective with managing your recruitment process. Okay. And second to that, share your wins with your team. Okay. Share the stories, about how you navigated that tricky negotiation with the client or handled that counter offer. Set the standards through your own performance, talk about it, and I promise you this is going to have an impact on your team's development. Okay. So this is the question I want you to consider in view of you being a biller. Okay. I want you to reflect on your own processes and think, what example are you currently setting to your team? Okay. What's the example you are currently setting to the team? Now, and with that in mind, how do you need to change your approach? Okay. If you need some time to think about that, just pause the video and restart when you're ready. Okay, but I really want you to consider the example you're currently setting through your own billings. Okay, so let's consider the second part of your job, and this is the people management piece. Now, this is about how you support team performance and how you develop your consultants. Okay, now the mindset that you bring to managing people is really, really important. Your job as a manager isn't simply to set the activity targets at the beginning of the week or to tell people what to do. Okay, your mindset and your priority as a manager should be to serve your team to improve and succeed every day. Okay, you are there to be in service, to support. Okay, so again, reflecting on that, how do you currently work with your team? Okay, if you are being that supported manager, okay, it might be a good idea to write some of these down. What would your team notice about you in terms of your communication style? How you build relationships with them. How do you manage their underperformance? How do you support them in their one-to-ones? How do you conduct one-to-one meetings with them? Okay. Again, thinking about that, how would you change your approach? If you were being that supported manager, how would you change your approach in things like your communication style, how you build relationships, how you manage performance, and how you run your one-to-one meetings? Again, you might want to pause really to consider that, and I really want you to reflect on how you're doing that currently. So hopefully by now I've started to raise your awareness around where your focus needs to be effective as a billing manager. Okay. So let's summarize what we've spoken about and agree some practical things that you can now take action with today. And I hope they're going to have a real impact. So the first thing to do is to think about your billings. Okay. And these are the three things I want you to consider. Number one, you have to dedicate time every week for your own personal billings. Okay, your contribution is important. The second thing, lead by example, like keep your standards high in how you manage your own recruitment processes. And then number three, share your wins with your team. They really will learn from that. And now, secondly, let's think about the management piece of your role. And to help with that, I want you to think about each consultant in your team. And I want you to think about these two questions. What do they need to do next week to have a successful week? What does success look like for each consultant in your team next week? Okay, how can you help with that? Okay, how can you help with that? And then number two, who is really struggling in your team right now? Okay, who is really struggling in your team right now? What additional support do they need from you? Okay. What additional support do they need from you? Okay. So your one-to-ones might be a really great meeting to have those conversations. So that's it for this video. I really hope it's helped, and I hope it's helped lay some good foundations for you. So good luck for now, and I'll see you again soon.